On November 7th, a Europa League football match between Maccabi Tel Aviv and Ajax took place in Amsterdam. Later, Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters were attacked at several locations in the city center, resulting in arrests and injuries. International media outlets reported the story as being a series of anti-Semitic hit-and-run attacks on the fans from Israel. Such claims went as far as the Israeli president Isaac Herzog, who likened the clashes to the October 7 attacks. Prime Minister Netanyahu's office referred to the attacks as an extraordinary and anti-Semitic event. But was the violence and the attacks on Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters anti-Semitic? Let's check the facts. In order to understand what happened in Amsterdam that night, we need to follow the sequence of events that led up to the attacks. In the days before, hundreds of supporters of the Israeli team arrived in the Dutch capital and were filmed tearing down Palestinian flags from businesses and apartments.
Al die supporters wordt op het Rokin een vlag van de gevel gehaald en ze vernielen het taxi. Op de Dam wordt de Palestijnse vlag in brand gestoken.
Even before the match began, the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans shouted anti-Palestinian chants. And set off fireworks during a minute of silence held for the victims of the recent floods in Spain. Then, following the match, the situation escalated as violent clashes broke out between elements of Dutch pro-Palestinian groups and the Israeli club fans. This is when the story began, for many of the international news outlets covering it, disregarding or ignoring the previous incitement or provocation from the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. There was no mention of the hate speech or aggression from the Israeli supporters when Amsterdam's mayor, Femke Halsema, said in a press conference she denounced the attacks on the visiting Israelis.
Haatdragende, antisemitische relschoppers en criminelen hebben gisteravond en gisternacht Joodse Israëlische bezoekers te gast in onze stad belaagd en in elkaar geslagen. Mijn hart gaat uit naar de slachtoffers, naar hun familie, hier en in Israël.
Calls of anti-Semitism were persistent and dominated social media and news sites. Outlets in the UK, Europe, and the US were firmly focused on anti-Semitism as the cause and followed the narrative that the Israeli fans were targeted and were victims of anti-Semitic abuse and hate speech. This, despite numerous videos circulating online showing the taunts, provocations, and abuse from the Israeli fans. Even the Dutch Prime Minister, Dick Schoof, posted on X that he was horrified by the anti-Semitic attacks on Israeli citizens. One news network did provide a timeline of events that didn't overlook the actions of the Maccabi fans. But it didn't take long before their story was removed from social media, only to reappear hours later with a new headline about the violence being anti-Semitic. Violence and assaults are unacceptable, but deliberately ignoring the actions of incitement and provocations that led to it is also misleading. This led to one-sided reporting on how and why the clashes broke out. An alternative perspective was offered by the Palestinian Football Association, which highlighted Islamophobia and anti-Palestinian racism from the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. Claims of anti-Semitism have once again been used to control the narrative and obscure the facts. Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters perpetrated vandalism, incited violence, intimidated and threatened people for being pro-Palestine. But blame and condemnation of the Israeli fans was far from the headlines. And those are the facts.